The guillotine is by far one of the most gruesome methods of execution. Also known as Madame la Guillotine, the guillotine is synonymous with the terror of the French Revolution, and it continues to both horrify and fascinate us. Now, let us look at the facts that you may not know about the guillotine. Number 1. It was popular amongst children. Children often attended guillotine executions, and some may have even played with their miniature guillotines at home. During the 1790s, a 2-foot-tall replica blade and timbers was a popular toy in France. That is right. Kids used the fully operational guillotines to decapitate dolls or even small rodents. And some towns eventually banned them out of fear that they were a vicious influence. Novelty guillotines also found their way onto some upper-class diner tables, where they were used as bread and vegetable slices. Number 2. It was originally developed as a more humane method of execution. The origins of the French guillotine dates back to the late 1789, when Dr. Joseph Ignat's guillotine proposed that the French government adopt a gentler method of execution. Although he was personally opposed to capital punishment, Guillotine argued that decapitation by a lightning-quick machine would be more humane and egalitarian than sword and axe beheadings, which were often botched. He later helped oversee the development of the prototype, an imposing machine designed by French Dr. Antoine Louis and built by a German harpsichord maker named Tobias Schmid. The device claimed its first official victim in April 1792 and quickly became known as the guillotine, much to the horror of its supposed inventor. Guillotine tried to distance himself from the machine during the guillotine hysteria of the 1790s, and his family later unsuccessfully petitioned the French government to change its name in the early 19th century. Number 3. Guillotine executions were major spectator events. During the reign of terror of the mid-1790s, thousands of enemies of the French Revolution met their end by the guillotine's blade. Some members of the public initially complained that the machine was too quick and clinical, but before long the process had evolved into high entertainment. People came to the Place de la Révolution in droves to watch the guillotine do its grisly work. And the machine has honored in countless songs, jokes, and poems. Spectators could buy souvenirs, read a program listing the names of the victims, or even grab a quick bite to eat at a nearby restaurant called Cabaret de la Guillotine. Some people attended daily, most famously the Tricoteuses, a group of morbid women who supposedly sat beside the scaffold and knitted in between beheadings. The theater even extended to the condemned. Many people offered sarcastic quibs or defiant last words before being executed, and others danced their way up the steps of the scaffold. Fascination with the guillotine waned at the end of the 18th century, but public beheadings continued in France until 1939. Number 4. Guillotine operators were national celebrities. As the fame of the guillotine grew, so too did the reputations of its operators. Executioners won a great deal of notoriety during the French Revolution when they were closely judged on how quickly and precisely they could orchestrate multiple beheadings. The job was often a family business. Multiple generations of the famed Sanson family served as state executioners from 1792 to 1847 and were responsible for dropping the blade on King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, among thousands of others. During the 19th and 20th centuries, the role of chief headsman fell to Louis and Anatole Deibler, a father and son pair whose combined tenure extended from 1879 to 1939. People often chanted the Sansons and Deiblers' names in the streets, and their choice of clothing on the scaffold was known to inspire fashion trends. Executioners were also a subject of morbid fascination in the criminal underworld. According to some accounts, gangsters and other hoods would get tattoos with grim slogans such as "My head goes to Deibler." Number 5. scientists conducted gruesome studies on the heads of the condemned. From the very beginning of its use, speculation abounded over whether the heads of the guillotined remained conscious after being cut off. The debate reached new heights in 1793, when an assistant executioner slapped the face of one of his victims' heads and spectators claimed to see its cheek flush in anger. Doctors later asked the condemned to try to blink or leave one eye open after their execution to prove they could still move, and others yelled the deceased name or exposed their heads to candle flames and ammonia to see if they could react. In 1880, a doctor named Dassy de Lignier even had blood pumped into the head of a guillotined child murderer to find out if it would come back to life and speak. The ghastly experiments were put to a stop in the 20th century, but studies on rats have since found that brain activity may continue for around 4 seconds after decapitation. And those were some of the facts that you may not know about the guillotine. What other execution method or device would you like us to cover next? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you again in the next video.